Next topic is India State of Forest Report 2021. Very important for prelims, also for geography section in your mains, for environment perspectives, and also for economic perspectives for paper 3. Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change today released the India State of Forest Report 2021 prepared by the Forest Survey of India, which has been mandated to assess the forest and tree resources of the country. So who makes this report? Forest Survey of India. Prelims. Important. Background. The India State of Forest Report is a biennial publication exercise by the Forest Survey of India. It assesses FSI is an organization under the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change. So it is a biennial exercise. That means once in 2 years, not every year. It assesses the forest and tree cover, bamboo resources, carbon stock, and forest fires. The country's forest cover includes all patches of land with a tree canopy density of more than 10% and more than 1 hectare in an area. Let's say there are some patches of land under which we have a tree cover. Let's say tree cover is basically the head of the trees. Tree cover of density of more than 10% and more than 1 hectare in area. In more than 1 hectare of area, we have the tree canopy density of more than 10%. It is known as forest cover. Irrespective of land use, ownership, and species of trees. So this could be in the agricultural land also, the forest cover. So it doesn't have to be in the forest only, rather it can be in the agricultural land, or it could be in the private property also. It is assessed by a wall-to-wall mapping exercise using remote sensing techniques of IRS, that is resource set to satellite, important for prelims, followed by intensive ground truthing. Three categories of forest are surveyed. Number 1, very dense forest with a canopy density of more than 70%, moderately dense forest 40 to 70%, and open forest with the canopy density of 10 to 40%. So that is why minimum 10% is also counted in the open forest, or let's say forest definition. What are scrubs? Canopy density less than 10% are also surveyed but not categorized as forest. They are called as scrubs. Tree cover comprises of tree patches of size less than 1 hectare occurring outside the recorded forest area. Let's say there are some land which are not in the forest area, but still it has tree covers, but these tree covers are in less than 1 hectare of land, then it is known as just tree cover, not the forest cover. So these are the conditions. So you have to just keep those in mind for prelims, because here the statements can be confusing sometimes. Indian State Forest Report 21 has some new features this year. So what are those features? That this year coffee, coconuts, mango, and other orchards, orchard means the farm, fruit farms, also accounted under forest cover, because these are also plants and trees. It has for the first time assessed forest cover in tiger reserves, important, tiger corridors, also important, and Gir forest, which houses the Asiatic lion. So earlier we were not counting them in the forest in the tiger reserves and Asiatic lion regions, but this year we also accounted. So there are two things which happened first time in this report in 2021, that is we counted orchards and mango trees and coffee, coconuts, etc., and also there were counting of the regions belonging to tiger reserves and other corridors. Now what is the data saying? And also the Indian forest policy states that India should have at least 33% of forest cover of total land area. 33% of forest cover of land area. 33%. That should be the forest policy target. And now about 20 to 23% is the forest cover in the country in India estimation. Let's see what is exactly now. The forest cover in tiger corridors has increased by 37.15 kilometers, 0.32% between this decade of 11 to 21, but decreased by 22.6 square kilometers in tiger reserves. So the tiger corridors, we have this increment of forest reserve, but in the tiger reserves we have decrease in the forest counting. Forest cover has increased in 20 tiger reserves in these 10 years and decreased in 32 tiger reserves. This is factual data, but sometimes it is important. Baksa, Annamalai and Indravati reserves have shown an increase in forest cover, while the highest losses have been found in Kaval, Bhadra and Sundarban reserves. Important names you should remember. Now your task is to actually find out these reserves on maps. Right. Pake Tiger Reserve in Arunachal Pradesh has the highest forest cover at nearly 97%, and Arunachal Pradesh has the highest forest cover in the Indian states. So this is also one PT fact. Interesting findings we have in this report is the report said 17 states and union territories had more than 33% of their area under forest cover. 17 states and union territory. That means more than 50% of Indian states and union territory have this 33% forest cover. The report found that there had been a 1540 square kilometer increase in forest cover. Good news. And 721 square kilometer increase in tree cover since the last report in 2019. That is also an important point, because the UPSC might trap that there is an increase in forest cover this year, but there is a decrease in tree cover. No, absolutely wrong. Both these sections we have increased tree cover, less than 1 hectare of land, and forest cover more than 1 hectare of land. So you just remember the distinction. Increase in forest cover has been observed in open forest, followed by very dense forest. Increase in forest cover has been observed in open forest, less than 10% canopy, and very dense forest, 70% minimum density. The total forest and tree cover accounted for 24.62% of geographical area of the country, and the target is 33%. So here, if what we have written is 22-23%, this is according to 2019. Now we have is 24.4% tree cover or forest cover in 2021. India's forest cover is now 21.71% of the country's geographical area, an increase for 21.67 in 2019. Tree cover has increased by 721 kilometers. Very dense forests have increased by 501 square kilometer, and this is a healthy sign, but pertains to forests that are protected and reserves forests with active conservation activities. The top 5 states in terms of forest cover, highly important for prelims. It is always coming from northeast, always remember. The highest is Mizoram, 84.53, Arunachal Pradesh 79.33, Meghalaya 76%, Manipur 74.34, and Nagaland 73.90. So these areas in northeast are comprising of 70 to 90% of forest cover between the areas. So Mizoram is highest, then Arunachal Pradesh, Meghalaya, Manipur and Nagaland. The states that have, keep in mind that Assam is not making in the list. Assam is not making in the list because somewhere it is coming in the plain areas, Assam plateaus area, Shillong plateaus and those regions. These states that have shown the highest increase in forest cover are Telangana, Andhra Pradesh and Odisha. Important. Area wise, Madhya Pradesh had the largest forest cover, followed by Arunachal Pradesh because Madhya Pradesh has the highest area, followed by Arunachal Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Odisha and Maharashtra. 5 states in the northeast, Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland have all shown loss in forest cover. Though they have increased, but they have also shown loss in cover. So that could be probably due to the industrialization or illegal forest trade or smuggling, or might be government permission forest cutting. But in a nutshell, we have lost the cover there. Now this is showing the gains and loss. Just take a look. Important gains: Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Odisha, Karnataka and Jharkhand in the square kilometer regions, and losses here this is giving. Mangrove cover, important. Mangroves, we have discussed the mangrove because they are the carbon sinkers, as we have discussed in the video of 13th of January. You can go back and check it in 13 January about the mangroves. The total mangrove cover in the country had increased by 17 square kilometer to reach 4,992 square kilometers, approximately 5,000. The total carbon stock in forest was estimated to be 7204 million tons, an increase of 79.4 million tons from 2019. Highly important point for prelims, because this is important for India's vision of going carbon neutral, which India has estimated that by 2070 India will be carbon neutral. That means there will be no more carbon emission or addition from the Indian side in the atmosphere. The survey has found that 35.46% of the forest cover is prone to forest fire. Important, 35.46%. Now in the future videos we'll be talking about the reasons of forest fires. Important topics for UPSC. Out of this, 2.81% is extremely prone, 7.85 is very highly prone, and 11.51 is highly prone. The total carbon stock in country's forest is estimated as 7204 million tons, an increase of 79.4 million tons. Bamboo forests have grown from 13,882 million culms in 2019 to 53,000, almost 4 to 5 times growth we have seen here. What impact has climate change had? The report estimates that by 2030, 45 to 64% of forest in India will experience the effects of climate change. Highly important point. You can quote this in quoting the disaster context or environmental topics in mains. And rising temperatures and forests in all states except Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Nagaland will be highly vulnerable climate hotspots because of climate change and rising temperature, and this combinedly will lead to forest fires. And forest fire is a massive reason of losing forests, as you have seen that we have seen California forest fires, we have seen Australia forest fires, we have also seen in the Mediterranean regions forest fires. Ladakh forest cover likely to be the most affected because of the extreme climate. Forest cover is 0.1 to 0.2%. India's forests are already showing shifting trends of vegetation types, such as Sikkim, which has shown a shift in its vegetation pattern for 124 endemic species. Endemic means only finding or only found in Sikkim region. These are called as endemic. There will be substantial increase in the frequency of forest fires, along with increase in the number of areas susceptible to forest fires, because if there will be climate change, then definitely the forest resistance capacity of the plants and vegetation in the forest will be decreased or somewhere affected, and this will lead to forest fires in a massive way. Important reports and giving so much of important data. The highest numbers of fires were detected in Odisha, Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh in India, and in 2016-17 Uttarakhand fires were also big matter of concern in India during that time. Decline in forest cover of the northeastern states. The northeast states account for 7.98% of the total geographical area, but 23.75% of total forest cover. Important. The forest cover in the region has shown an overall decline of 1,020 square kilometer in forest cover in the region, which is northeast. While states in the northeast continue to have some of the largest forested areas, such as Mizoram of its total geographical, Arunachal Pradesh and all those regions, but yet we have seen a loss of forest cover in these regions. The report has attributed the decline in the northeast states to a spate of natural calamities, particularly landslides and heavy rains in the region, as well as to anthropogenic activities such as shifting agriculture, pressure of developmental activities and felling of trees might be illegal. That we have already talked about in the above page. And this shifting cultivation or shifting agriculture is basically the tribals do not settle at one place in permanent ways. They believe in slash and burn type of agriculture system, where they settle at one place for several years, and they do the organic farming. without any kind of commercial inputs to the agricultural system. And when the productivity of the land is reduced or compromised, then they shift the entire base to the next area. This is known as slash and burn type of agriculture. Now, do you know the nation's tree and forest cover has largely hovered from 21 to 25% and is short of the National Forest Policy 1988, which envisages 33% to be under such cover. India is among the top 10 countries in the world to maintain and increase its forest cover and tree cover. Top 5 countries for forest area 2020 is Russia, Brazil, Canada, United States, China, and rest of the world. So India is in this 10 region. Now some glossary. What is greenwash? The extent of wooded areas generally shown in light green color on the Survey of India topo sheets is known as greenwash. Shannon-Weiner Index, a measure of species richness and abundance, is known as Shannon Index. It is used for comparing diversity of species between various habitats. So this index is important in the environmental section. This could be asked for prelims. Shannon-Weiner Index, that shows the species richness and abundance and the variety in a region. Reserved forest, an area so constituted under the provisions of the Indian Forest Act or other state forest act having full degree of protection. Reserved forest. In reserved forest, all activities are prohibited unless permitted. It means that any activity in the reserved forest will be given permission, and without permission no entries, and all the activities are prohibited. These are called as reserved forest. Whereas the protected forest means that all the activities are permitted unless prohibited. It means in the protected forest these are protected, but you can do whatever you want and everything is permitted. But if government or the state authorities would feel like, then they would put certain protective clauses, and certain activities will be prohibited. So it means that it is all permitted unless prohibited, but in reserved forest it is prohibited unless permitted. Now recorded forest area. Forest area recorded as forest in government records. Protected forest, an area notified under the provisions of state, central and state forest act having limited degree of protection. In protected forest all activities are permitted. That means it's freely available, but if time required or situation requires, then it can be prohibited. So this is basically antagonist of reserved forest in terms of activities and prohibitions. Scrub, of course, lesser than 10% canopy density we have degraded forest land, which is known as scrub. Mangrove cover, area covered under mangrove vegetation as interpreted from remote sensing data. It is included in the forest cover. Then MODIS, it is an extensive program using sensors on 2 satellites, Terra and Aqua, which provide complete daily coverage of the earth. Moderate resolution imaging spectroradiometer. So you have to keep these two words in mind, Terra and Aqua. These two sensors based technology or satellites are being used to provide complete daily coverage of earth regarding the forest cover. With MODIS sensor, it is generally possible to obtain images in the morning, Terra, and afternoon, Aqua, for any particular location. So here Terra takes the images in morning and Aqua taking the images in afternoon. Nighttime data are also available in the thermal range of the spectrum. Hill district, a district with more than 50% of its geographic area under hill talukas based on criteria adopted by the Niti Aayog for hill area and Western Ghats development program. So hill district has more than 50% of its geographic area under hill talukas. So it is known as hill districts like Darjeeling. Now, greenhouse gases. There are 6 recognized major greenhouse gases, that is carbon dioxide, methane, hydrofluorocarbons, perfluorocarbons, nitrous oxide, and sulfur hexafluoride, SFX6. Carbon accounting often refers to the accounting of all major GHGs using a carbon dioxide equivalent that standardizes these gases based on their global warming potential. So how much carbon content is being added with what sort of gases, this is known as carbon accounting, because every single thing we are accounting in terms of carbon. So carbon is the reference element here, carbon dioxide. Forest cover. All lands more than 1 hectare in area with a tree canopy density of more than 10% irrespective of ownership and legal status known as forest cover. We have seen that already. Carbon pool. Carbon pools are major components of an ecosystem that can either accumulate or release carbon. This is known as carbon pool. Either accumulate or release carbon in atmosphere. This is basically known as carbon pool. Next is carbon sequestration. It is the long-term process of storage of carbon in plant, soil, geological formations and the ocean. It is known as carbon sequestration. Sequestration means carbon storage. This is carbon storage. Carbon sink. A carbon sink is a carbon pool from which more carbon flows in than out. Forest can act as sink through the process of tree growth and resultant biological carbon sequestration. Carbon sink means more and more carbon content is being flowing in. Rather, the carbon is going out. So this is known as carbon sink, like forest cover. Forests are known as carbon sinks, and also we have mangroves and other grass system which is lying in the bottom of the oceans. Seagrass. Now we have Lithuanian export crisis and the 17+1 initiative. So we should have an idea that what is this all about. The context is Lithuanian exports have allegedly been blocked by China owing to the European country allowing Taiwan to set up an embassy office on its land bearing the name of Taiwan and not Chinese Taipei. Friends, historically talking about those people who wanted China to become a communist region or wanted to become a well-flourished nation, these people were made to flee from the country and they got settled in the region named as Taiwan, just at a distance from China southeastern border. And this Taiwan was under the administrative control, under the political control of Chinese as major. But now Taiwan, after this Hong Kong incident, has declared themselves as free, and they appealed the world that world should come forward and the world states should allow Taiwan to establish individual diplomatic relations and sovereign diplomatic relations through the setup of embassy offices in their respective countries. But this thing is disturbing China, because China do not want to lose Taiwan as an administrative sovereign nation, or they do not want that to be free. So in this manner, whoever is actually giving this adjustments to the Taiwan appeal, then China is going against them. And this is what Lithuania has done, that they accepted Taiwan's proposal to settle embassy offices in that in this Vilnius region, and thereby China actually blocked the export shipments from Lithuania. Now, what is this 17+1 initiative and what is all about? In May 2021, Lithuania quit the 17+1 dialogue format, making it 16+1 because -1 is Lithuania, which was initiated by China. The 17+1 initiated by China in 2012. China in 2012, which was initiated by China as a multilateral forum for engagement with the countries of Central and East European nation. Central and East European nations. Generally, this part is making earlier Soviet bloc, because before its disintegration in 1989 specifically, or till 92, during the time lag. Lithuania is the first country in that group to have done so and stated economic non-reciprocity of China. That means that majority of imports are being received by the Central and Eastern Europe from China, but the exports is almost nil. So it is actually creating a deficit in exports and imports. Hence, balance of payment is increasing for the CCE nations, hence basically covering the international debt over these countries. And threats to European unity as reasons for existence. This is what the reasons quoted by Lithuania. China amounts to only 1% of Lithuania's exports. That means Lithuania is only exporting 1% of its exports to China, and its imports from China are 5 times more. This made it easy for the country to take a tough stand against China because of trade imbalance and imparities. That means that 1% you are taking from us and you are sending us 5%, so there is no equal terms of trade. However, this put an unexpected strain on its trade with partners in the rest of Europe, which are highly dependent on China. So because like many countries are only working because they are being supported by China, and hence this has actually created a mess or created a confusion by the steps taken by Lithuania in the context of China. The European Union is currently China's largest trading partner, and about 80 to 90% of Lithuania's exports are based on manufacturing contracts with the rest of the European Union. So if, see, EU is 90% important taking China, and Lithuania is 90% sending to European Union, and if Lithuania is not in good terms with China, then definitely the entire European Union will come in the conflict context with the China because of Lithuania. This is the condition now. It urged fellow European Union members to pursue a much more effective 27+1 approach and communication with China. Who? Lithuania actually proposed it. That European Union comprising of 27 members must speak to China as a common dialogue partner, so that there is a pressure created on China, and if we are in negotiating terms with the China individually, then China or Chinese dragon is such a big entity that it will never listen to the smaller countries and smaller relatively poor countries. So this is the geographical position of Lithuania. Here you can see in the map, this is Lithuania. And talking geographical location, it is opening in the Baltic Sea, and it is surrounded by Russia's Kaliningrad. This is the important port and Russian territory, and here it is being sandwiched between Lithuania and Poland. Now it is surrounded by Latvia and Belarus at the other end. It has no direct boundaries with Russia. See, this is the question. This could be question. It has no direct boundaries with the Russian mainland. However, Russian territory boundary it is sharing, right, which is also a block boundary. Now, the 17+1 initiative is a China-led format founded in 2012 in Budapest with an aim to expand cooperation between Beijing and the Central and Eastern European countries. China's Central and Eastern European countries to make a cooperation in terms of economy and other trading issues. They made the 17+1 initiative. The framework also focuses on infrastructure projects such as bridges, motorways, railway lines, and modernization of ports in the member states. So it is basically a diplomacy based on development. So here Chinese investment will in forms of equity, debts, bonds, and whatsoever, and China will mark a presence in this region and hence indirectly can claim a stake in their internal policies, and also that will provide a gateway to the Baltic region and to the Baltic countries by making the trading connections with these areas, and ultimately the Arctic gas region or whatever the energy resources are lying there where Russia is holding a direct stake. China can also share the scene in this context. Chinese goals towards the 17+1 initiative is about improving relations with European countries that are less developed as compared to the Western European states. The initiative includes European Union member states, NATO members and Balkan states, Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Bulgaria and whatsoever, Macedonia and these members. Recently, Greece became its 18th member, turning the 16+1 into the 17+1 again. So Greece has also joined it. Greece is significantly different from the other participants in the initiative, most of which are post-communist states. So Greece was not a member of Soviet bloc earlier. The platform is largely seen as an extension of China's flagship Belt and Road Initiative. It means political diplomacy via trade. Trade dominance, you can say, in Chinese context. Trade relations between China and CSE countries remained modest, leading to an increasing trade deficit since its inception. And here, who is winning? China is winning. China is gaining. And this is not liked by Lithuania. That is why they retaliated about this issue and they contradicted. The Baltic States, also known as Baltic countries, is a geopolitical term typically used to group the 3 sovereign states on the eastern coast of the Baltic Sea. This is the eastern coast of the Baltic Sea. So the Baltic states are Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania. These 3 are Baltic states. Important, some international relations or some points and some countries geographical mapping system is also asked in UPSC prelims. Lithuania is the largest and most southerly of the 3 Baltic republics. As you can see here, Lithuania is the largest. This is the area. This is Latvia, this is Estonia, and Gulf of Riga, Gulf of Finland and Baltic Sea majorly. East coast is being shared along the members. Not much more than a decade after it regained its independence during the collapse of Soviet Union in 1990, Lithuania was welcomed as a NATO member in late March 2004. So Lithuania is also a NATO member. Hence Lithuania is taking this strategic step, as they can also claim the stake in the NATO forces, and also they can that is why it is asking European Union to get a combined front to speak to China within this context. So this is about the Lithuania exports denied at Chinese borders, and because of their acceptance, European Union members acceptance, Taiwan to open embassy offices in their diplomatic regions. So this is actually disturbing Chinese aggression here, and that is why all these stories are coming up. So this is it about this video. Thank you so much.